We often remember Princess Diana as a global icon, a fashion trailblazer, and a tireless advocate for the forgotten. But behind the camera flashes and the heavy palace gates, there was a woman who sought comfort in the simplest of places, the kitchen. For Diana, food wasn't about royal protocol or stiff formal banquets. It was a way to feel human in an inhumanly pressurized world. Picture her in the quiet hours at Kensington Palace, perhaps padding into the kitchen in her dressing gown to chat with the chefs, looking for a snack that reminded her of home rather than a crown. From her early days as a young nursery teacher to her later years as a health-conscious humanitarian, her plate told the story of her evolution. It reflected her struggles, her triumphs, and her deep desire to provide a normal life for her two sons. While the world saw the diamonds, Diana often found her peace in a bowl of bread and butter pudding or a fresh bowl of pasta. Today, we aren't just looking at recipes, we are looking at the flavors that comforted a heart the whole world loved. Let's explore the 10 dishes Princess Diana couldn't live without. Dish number 1, Coronation Chicken, the heritage starter. If one dish could capture the soul of the British monarchy's transition from the old world to the new, it is Coronation Chicken. Originally created in 1953 for the coronation of King Charles' mother, Queen Elizabeth II, this dish was a symbol of hope and celebration for a nation still weary from the shadows of war. But under the reign of King Charles, this dish has evolved. It is no longer just a simple cold salad at the Commonwealth Day banquet. It is served as a refined gourmet starter that tells a story of global unity. The dish consists of tender, poached chicken blanketed in a creamy, golden sauce infused with mild curry spices, toasted almonds, and the sweetness of dried apricots or mango. For King Charles, serving this dish is deeply nostalgic. It is a sensory bridge to his mother's legacy, reminding everyone in the room of the long-standing bond between Britain and the diverse cultures of the East and West. It represents a fusion before fusion was even a tender, beautiful marriage of British poultry and the vibrant spices of India and the Caribbean. When the world's leaders lift their silver forks to taste this, they aren't just eating chicken, they are tasting 70 years of history. It is a reminder that different cultures, when blended with respect and care, create something far more delicious than they could ever be alone. The golden hue of the sauce reflects the warmth of the Commonwealth family, making it the perfect opening act for a night of global friendship. Is Coronation Chicken a classic masterpiece, or is it just a weird way to ruin a perfectly good roast chicken? Dish number 2, Windsor Pheasant with Wild Cabbage. King Charles has always been a man who feels a deep, spiritual connection to the soil of Britain, and nothing represents that bond more than the Windsor Pheasant. This dish is a true farm-to-table masterpiece, featuring game birds sourced directly from the rugged, misty woods of the royal estates. The pheasant is lean, flavorful, and wrapped delicately in Savoy cabbage, served alongside earthy root vegetables that taste of the very ground they grew in. For the king, this isn't just about luxury, it's about a philosophy of life. He wants his guests at the Commonwealth banquet to experience the honest, raw beauty of the British countryside. It reflects his lifelong mission to protect the environment, a message he sends to every world leader through the food on their plate. As the rich, dark gravy is poured, it brings a sense of the wild into the elegance of the palace. But as we look at this rustic royal plate, I have to ask you, have you ever tried game meat like pheasant or venison, or does the idea of eating wild food feel a bit too adventurous for your palate? It certainly sparks a debate in the culinary world. Should the king serve meat from his own estates to promote sustainability? Or is the tradition of hunting for the royal table something that should be left in the past? Dish number 3, Wild Mushroom Risotto. It is no secret that King Charles is a man of simple, organic tastes who finds his greatest peace walking through the damp, mossy forests of Balmoral. This love for the earth is brought directly to the banquet table through his signature wild mushroom risotto. This isn't a dish born in a factory. It is a celebration of the forest floor, often featuring porcini and chanterelle mushrooms that the king has a personal hand in identifying or sourcing. Each grain of arborio rice is slow cooked until it is silky and rich, absorbing the deep, woody aromas of the fungi and the brightness of fresh herbs from the palace gardens. This dish represents the king's green heart, a gentle reminder to the Commonwealth leaders that we must cherish the natural world before it disappears. It's a sophisticated yet humble plate that breaks the tradition of heavy, meat-focused royal courses. But as you imagine that creamy, earthy texture, I'm curious to know, are you a big fan of mushrooms, or do you find their unique texture a bit strange to handle? Even in the high-stakes world of royal diplomacy, this dish causes a stir. Can a simple bowl of rice and mushrooms really be considered royal enough for a global banquet, or is it too plain for a king to serve to the world? Dish number 4. The Royal Mirage Mocktail in a modern monarchy. Inclusion is just as important as tradition, and King Charles has revolutionized the royal toast with the Royal Mirage. This isn't your standard glass of juice. It is a sophisticated, non-alcoholic masterpiece designed so that every guest, regardless of their culture or faith, can raise a glass together. Crafted with deep red pomegranate, spicy ginger, and a hint of botanical smoke, the drink mimics the complexity of a fine wine without a single drop of alcohol. The vibrant crimson color is a deliberate tribute to the flags of many Commonwealth nations, symbolizing the blood bond of their shared history. It shows a king who is sensitive to the diverse beliefs of a global family, ensuring no one feels left out when the room stands to honor the future. It's a refreshing, sharp, and regal drink that proves elegance doesn't require a cellar. But tell me, if you were attending a grand party, would you reach for a fancy spiced mocktail like this, or do you usually stick to a standard soda? This shift in palace protocol definitely has people talking. Does a royal banquet lose its legendary sparkle without traditional champagne? Or is it time we embrace these modern, inclusive toasts as the new standard of royalty? Dish number 5. The Commonwealth Seafood Platter. The Commonwealth is a vast family of islands and coastal nations, and King Charles honors this oceanic bond with a spectacular seafood platter. This dish is a vibrant mosaic of the sea, featuring delicate Scottish smoked salmon, succulent tiger prawns, and buttery scallops. It is a dish that breathes the salty air of the Atlantic and the warmth of the Indian Ocean, served on a bed of crushed ice that glitters under the palace chandeliers like the waves themselves. By serving this, the king acknowledges the shared challenges of our blue planet, using the meal to highlight the importance of ocean conservation, a cause close to his heart for decades. It is a light, elegant course that brings a refreshing breeze to the heavy atmosphere of a state banquet, reminding every guest that though we are separated by vast waters, the sea is what truly connects us all. Looking at this display of maritime luxury, I have to ask, if you were at the king's table, would you dive straight into a platter of shellfish, or do you find seafood a bit too intimidating for a formal dinner? It's a choice that always sparks a debate. Is a cold seafood platter the ultimate sign of royal sophistication, or is it too risky to serve at a high-stakes global event where one allergic reaction could change history? Dish number 6, Highland Lamb with Minted Jus for King Charles. A banquet isn't complete without a tribute to the rugged beauty of Scotland, a place where his soul truly feels at home. The Highland Lamb is a dish of deep emotional resonance, featuring tender meat from sheep that have grazed on the wild heather and grasses of the Scottish hills. It is roasted to a perfect delicate pink and served with a vibrant minted jus that cuts through the richness with a burst of garden freshness. This dish is a symbol of the king's commitment to traditional farming and his personal love for the heritage of the British Isles. It brings the rustic, honest flavours of the mountains into the gilded halls of London, reminding his guests that true royalty lies in the quality of the land itself. Every bite is a journey through the misty glens he loves so dearly. But as you imagine that savoury, melt-in-your-mouth lamb, I want to know, do you prefer your meat cooked medium rare and juicy, or are you like the late Queen and prefer it well done? It's a topic that divides foodies everywhere. Is serving lamb pink the only way to respect the ingredient, or is it a royal mistake to serve anything that isn't fully cooked through? Dish number 7. Sustainable sea base with fennel. In a world increasingly concerned with the health of our oceans, King Charles uses the sustainable sea base as a powerful statement of his environmental values. This isn't just a fish course. It is a lesson in conservation. The sea base is line-caught and pan-seared until the skin is perfectly crisp, served over a bed of shaved fennel and citrus-infused olive oil. The flavors are bright, clean, and modern, a far cry from the heavy cream-laden sauces of the past. This dish represents the modern king, a man who understands that the luxury of the future must be sustainable. By choosing sea base that is responsibly sourced, he encourages his guests from across the Commonwealth to rethink their own relationship with the sea. It is a light, thoughtful dish that leaves the palate refreshed and the conscience clear. But as you look at that beautifully seared fillet, I have to ask, do you think fish is a satisfying enough main course for a grand royal banquet, Or do you leave the table feeling like you still need a real meal? This choice always stirs up a conversation. Should a king be a climate activist at the dinner table, or should he just focus on serving the most expensive, indulgent food possible, regardless of the planet? Dish number 8. The Prince's Trust Lemon Tart for the dessert course. King Charles often favours a dish that balances sharp zest with royal elegance, the lemon tart. This isn't just any pastry. It is a vibrant, sun-yellow masterpiece made with organic lemons, often inspired by the citrus groves he has championed through his various charities. The crust is short, buttery, and snaps perfectly under a silver spoon, while the filling is a silky, tangy custard that cleanses the palate after the richness of the previous courses. This dish represents the king's brighter, more optimistic Sidia-sweet conclusion to a day of serious diplomacy. It is a reminder that even in the high-pressure world of the Commonwealth, there is always room for a little bit of sunshine and simple joy. It is refined, unpretentious, and classic, much like the king's own personal style when the cameras are off. But as you imagine that first zesty bite, I have to ask, are you someone who craves a sharp, fruity dessert to end a meal, or do you think a real dessert has to involve chocolate? It's a sweet debate that never ends. Is a lemon tart a sophisticated choice for a king, or is it a bit too simple for a menu that is supposed to represent the pinnacle of world-class dining? Dish number 9. The artisanal British cheeseboard as the evening winds down and the grand speeches conclude. King Charles introduces a course that is perhaps closest to his heart, the artisanal British cheeseboard. For a man who has spent decades championing small-scale farmers and organic agriculture, this platter is a victory lap for British heritage. It features a curated selection of farmhouse cheddars, creamy Stiltons, and soft boat cheeses, often accompanied by honeycomb from his own hives at Highgrove and oatcakes from the Scottish Highlands. This course is a celebration of slow food and the craftsmen who keep ancient traditions alive. To the king, these cheeses are as valuable as the crown jewels because they represent the living breath of the British countryside. It is a moment for guests to linger, talk, and appreciate the complex, pungent, and earthy flavours of the land. But as you look at a wedge of strong blue Stilton, I have to ask, are you a cheese lover who enjoys those bold, stinky flavours, or do you find the smell a bit too much to handle at a dinner table? This always creates a divide among diners. Is a cheeseboard the ultimate mark of a sophisticated palate, or is it a lazy way for a palace kitchen to end a world-class banquet? Dish number 10. Dark chocolate Highland whiskey truffles to bring the grand Commonwealth Day banquet to a close. King Charles offers a final decadent touch, dark chocolate and Highland whiskey truffles. These aren't just candies, they are a sophisticated fusion of the king's two great loves. Each truffle is crafted from 70% dark cocoa, a nod to his preference for bitter, rich flavours over sugary sweet sand, infused with a smoky, aged single malt whiskey from the Scottish Highlands. The result is a velvety, warming treat that lingers on the tongue long after the coffee has been served. This final dish represents the king's desire for a bold, lasting impression. It is a masculine, refined end to a night of global unity, echoing the strength and resilience of the Commonwealth itself. As guests enjoy these small bites of luxury, the atmosphere shifts from formal diplomacy to a quiet, shared appreciation of craftsmanship. But as you imagine that rich, whiskey-soaked centre, I have to ask, do you think alcohol and chocolate are a match made in heaven, or do you prefer your sweets to stay strictly sober? It's a finishing touch that always sparks a conversation. Is a whiskey truffle the perfect adult dessert for a modern king? Or should a royal finale be something more traditional and family-friendly that everyone can enjoy? And so, the lights dim on the grand ballroom of Buckingham Palace, but the flavours of the night remain a lingering memory. As we have seen, the Commonwealth Day banquet is so much more than a showcase of expensive ingredients or royal titles. Through every bite of sustainable fish and every sip of a ceremonial mocktail, King Charles III sends a silent but powerful message of unity, respect, and shared responsibility. It is a meal where the king of the land becomes a host for the world, proving that even in a digital age, there is no substitute for the magic that happens when people sit down to break bread together. These 10 dishes tell the story of a modern monarchy that honours the past but isn't afraid to embrace a greener, more inclusive future. It reminds us that whether you are a world leader or a viewer watching from home, food is the universal language that connects our hearts. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought. If you were invited to sit at the king's table for just one night, Which of these dishes would you be most excited to try, and which one would you secretly be a little nervous about? Do you think these modern changes make the king feel more relatable, or do you miss the old days of endless caviar and champagne? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into the royal kitchen, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. Until next time, keep exploring the flavors of history.